Are you ready to take your business to the next level? Every day there are countless books and articles that are published offering the key on how to make your business a success. It's easy to feel overwhelmed trying to keep up and run your business. That's why Deb Creer created the Business Power Hour. Keep up on the latest trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. Let the Business Power Hour do the heavy work for you.
Good morning. Good morning. I am Deb Creer, and I am passionate about giving professionals the tools that they need to make themselves and their businesses as successful as possible. And oh my gosh, we have a guest from way far away in South Africa. I love this. I love that our program reaches so far away. I interviewed somebody the other day, and we were talking about the benefits of podcasting, and he said it allows us to network around the world. And that is so true, right? It is so much fun. But please join me in welcoming my guest today. Welcome to our program, Dina Marais. How are you doing, Dina?
I'm doing so well. Thank you so much. It's such a privilege to be here with you, Deb.
Well, let me tell people a little bit about you, and then we will jump into this because we're going to have so much fun talking about this. So Dina Marais is the founder of Soul Purpose Publishing and Coaching, a 6-time international best-selling author, an independent publisher of 3 fingers, international bestsellers, and a quantum alignment and human design coach. She works with established entrepreneurs to elevate their brands, credibility, visibility, impact, and income by becoming best-selling authors. Dina publishes anthologies and solo author books and provides full publishing services for authors. She also partners with influencers to share the stories of their communities, thereby creating a new income stream for them. As a quantum alignment coach, she supports entrepreneurs in manifesting their dream goals using human design to identify self-sabotaging patterns and experience higher levels of awareness. Dina is launching her 4th multi-author best-selling book, I'm So Glad You Left Me, 88 Stories of Courage, Self-Love, and Personal Growth, on the 4th of October of this year, which is, holy schmoly, 2 days from now. So by the time this goes live, it will have published. It is her mission to inspire millions of people to own their greatness. So again, Dina, welcome.
Oh, thank you, Dave. Thank you. It's wonderful to be here.
I love it. Well, tell us a little bit about how it is that you got to where you are today, because I bet it's a pretty interesting story.
Well, in my previous life, I was in IT.
Okay.
Information technology. I was a programmer and a project leader and blah, 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 the whole thing for about 20 years. And then I learned about NLP.
Okay.
Never knew there was something like it.
Right.
Or
Neuro-linguistic programming, if I can say it.
Exactly. So, of course, it was love at first sight. I just fell in love with it. And I knew that my IT career is now done. I am moving away from this. I had to do this coaching. So then I became a coach, and I started this in 2002. And wonderful career in coaching. I always focused on self-love because I know that is in the end the most wonderful thing that we have. And when we have that, we can do anything.
Right. But it's pretty scarce.
Quite. For most people, it is the saddest thing that most people don't like themselves. And that is, I think, one of the biggest things about, publishing that I will get to in a second, is that the stories always involve, in the end, surrendering to a higher power and really get to know ourselves, that we can love ourselves. And I always love to remember this when I talk to clients, is that we are all here to walk each other home.
I love that.
All here to walk each other home. But anyhow, so I went from IT to coaching, and again for many, many years. And then about, 3 years ago, I have this opportunity to start my own publishing business. And actually, before that, many years ago, I read, The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Oh, that book made such an impact on me. And I made a wish to the universe, and I said, I want to write stories like this. But of course, I never did. But then when I saw this opportunity and what it can do for entrepreneurs, I had a physical reaction, I promise you, Deb. I had a feeling in my body that I just knew this is me. This is just totally me. And I dived in, and 3 months later, I published my first book.
Wow. I love it.
It's really incredible. I haven't had so much fun in my business. I love it, and I love the coaching with it. It's just like everything came together for me in terms of how I support entrepreneurs to manifest their dream goals. And for one, always one of their goals are to become a best-selling published author. So yeah, this is how I got where I am now.
I love it. How'd you end up in South Africa?
Well, I was born here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was born here, grew up here. My kids have now moved on. My one son lives in Prague, and my daughter lives in Madrid.
Wow.
And I actually visited her now for 3 months in Madrid. She had a new baby.
Oh, yes. So of course you had to go.
Of course. But I'm going to move there. I want to move there. I want to go and live there. My husband passed away in February 2023. So with everybody in Europe, I definitely don't want to stay here all by myself.
And a grandbaby. The grandbaby is the draw, we know.
There are 2 now. So
yes. Yeah. Well, that's the cool thing about what we do now and the world that we live in is it's all virtual. And you can easily just pick your business up and move it, whether it's the 3 months that you were just there or permanently.
Yeah. It's magical. It's absolutely magical. The world becomes a village.
It does. And it becomes very small very quickly. And which is, to me, that's just a very cool thing, because it allows us to expand our knowledge of everybody, and then the really cool thing is, if you're an author, you can sell your book worldwide, very easily reaching out and networking with people. So I think that's made a big difference for so many authors.
Oh, yes. And in this book that we are publishing on Friday, I'm so glad you left me. There are 88 authors in that book. In 88
different countries, or did you have some in several countries together?
Several countries, yeah. Okay. Not so many countries. Canada, US and Canada are always my my most authors. And then the UK, Australia, New Zealand, Spain, and France.
Okay. I love it.
The main countries, yeah. And it's wonderful for these women to come together. When there's a multi-author book like this, it creates a sisterhood.
Right. Yeah. You were mentioning that in some of the materials that you have, is that when you do the multi-author, you become a community, because you're bonding together, obviously, over the subject matter. And then you're helping promote the entire book, which promotes every individual.
Yes, absolutely. And they network and they collaborate, and it's just beautiful. The friendships that are formed, last forever. It's as you say, they have that in common. They have the whole project in common, and because they are all writing on a theme, to fulfill the promise of the book.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that commonality as well, which is really very special, really special. I love this work.
I love it. I love it. Well, let's kind of go from the very basics. One of the, why should someone even be thinking about writing a book? And we're talking primarily about nonfiction, not, James Patterson mystery of the week type of things. We're talking about a nonfiction book. So why should people even be thinking about doing something like this?
Well, I firmly believe that every entrepreneur should have a book.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I like the saying that someone said once that you can go and Google for anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and look for experts, you go to Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And, only less than 1% of entrepreneurs actually publish.
Wow.
Actually,
I had no idea it was that small.
Very small.
Mm-hmm.
So, and if you think about the online business world, it's very noisy.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people,
mm-hmm.
Because it's such an easy entry into business nowadays. I mean, everybody wants to work online. So there are many thousands and thousands of coaches in every niche you can think of, or entrepreneurs, or healers, or service-based entrepreneurs, doesn't matter. So when you are an expert in something, it's really important to demonstrate your expertise by writing a book. Because then you really stand out from the crowd, from the noise. Writing a book gives you so much, I always say, it skyrockets your credibility.
Right.
And you become an authority in your niche. And, it also elevates your brand and your visibility. You see, people notice you, and it opens doors. When you, as a best-selling author, pitch for a podcast, then, it's more likely that you'll sort of get a little bit in, especially if it's, if it's a popular podcast, that versus, you don't have that behind your name.
Right.
So it definitely helps. And it's really like a luxury business card. Right.
It is. And it is, which is why it surprises me that the percentages is so small, because, long gone are the days when, and I remember, back when somebody was, they published a book, they had 20,000 copies of it sitting in their basement or in their garage. They did the fulfillment themselves, or maybe they just had 200 copies, but they had a lot. They had to get the physical books, right? And now that we have this technology called print on demand, holy schmoly, does that ever work cool? Because people, they don't have to have that inventory. Amazon or, some of the other big guys will publish it for you. And obviously there's, you have to have it set up properly and all of those various things. But, and I know people, I really did know people who said, I no longer can park in my garage because that's where my books are. And, and when the technology changed, that made such a dramatic change for people to be able to be an author.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, nowadays people don't, as you say, they order a lot of books, maybe 20 or 30 copies, because they know they're going to do a few workshops, maybe
right,
offline,
and they're going to sign them and
send autographed copies out. So you don't need a garage full of hard copies any longer. But it is very valuable to have that book in your hand. When you do meet a new client, or you go for a collaboration or something where you need that confidence, it gives you a lot of confidence when your story, is in a book. It also leaves a legacy. You leave your legacy, because in the digital world, gosh, we are so overloaded with information, isn't it? It just comes, and you can write the most beautiful blog, and you press enter, and it's
right.
And the next best thing is there. So when it's in print, when it's in a book, in something that's tangible, it's very valuable, and it's something you can give to your children. You can leave to you can dish out to your family. You can really do a lot with it. You can really leverage the book,
right?
And that is something also that I think that's important, that I teach my author clients, is how to leverage the book. Because, it's not something that you're going to create and think you're going to become a millionaire from the sales.
Right. Yeah, that is not going to happen. Sorry, folks. No. I hate to break it to you. Probably not going to happen. Especially Malcolm Gladwell, we're not.
Because the whole thing with nonfiction books is that you make your money on the back end of the book.
Right.
You make your money on your website, the program, the course. And when I work with my clients, I have this amazing Propel Your Purpose solo author group program where you can write and publish your book. It's a 6-month program to write and a 3-month program to create your course as well. And I have the book published as a bestseller. And so you have to have the whole package.
Right.
So that, when you have the book, and in the book, you give your links and tell people that to do the program, they've got to read the book. So you can really work with both in tandem in your business.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I see a lot of speakers who have books. And as you said, it elevates their brand right away. When they are, when there's, more than one person who are applying, say, to be a speaker, they have more credibility when they say, hey, I have this book. And even more so if they say it's a bestseller, and so they do that. But I also know a lot of times, like they might say, well, we're not going to pay you to speak. Well, we need to eat. We need to, they might pay the expenses, but, and so many times that's why we see the authors who have the table in the back. They say, okay, I will speak for free, but I need to be able to sell my book. And so that means they're really going to do very well on giving that speech so that people want to buy the book. But yeah, that's one of the things that I see a lot of is people say, okay, but so you're not going to pay me, or you're going to pay me a reduced fee or something like that, but I need to be able to sell my book. Or even better, you're going to buy one for every person who's attending, because then you're kind of guaranteed, right? And I love that when that happens.
Oh, absolutely. And if you don't have if you run out of print copies, because everybody's buying them, you can have some flyers,
right,
with the links on how to go and buy your book and sign up for your course, your program.
Right.
So it just opens a lot of doors when you are an author.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing there are several questions that you always get. Probably the first one is, who would really care about what I would write about?
Oh, everyone's story is important. There's a saying that that there's someone waiting for your message. Just the way that you say it, that will actually help them. So, and we are all one. We are all connected. We are all sharing so many of the same life experiences. As humans, we are creatures of habit, and we have very similar patterns and similar life journeys. And we are here really to help each other. So when you have overcome something, when you have gone through something, you are on the other side, I believe it's your spiritual duty to actually write your story about it and help someone Show someone the path, show someone the way, that because they will read it, get that message, and it will really ignite and inspire them into action for where they didn't see a way out. Suddenly they can see it. So, many people underestimate the power of they think their ordinary story. Nothing is ordinary about anyone.
Right.
We have such rich experiences. And that brings me also to the point that many people say that they, oh, I can't write my story because I'm not a writer. Virtually very, very few people that start out writing are writers.
Right.
It's
That's what editors are for.
Exactly. And talking about editors, please, don't ever use ChatGPT or AI in any form to either write your book for you or edit it. It takes away your heart.
Right.
It doesn't have heart.
Yeah. I mean, that's where AI is great, but it loses the essence of a human, is maybe the easiest way to put that. Now, at some point that may change, but it's fine to write business emails and and website text, but when you're writing the story of you need you to be in it.
Absolutely. I love that. You need you to be in it. Yeah, absolutely. Right. Yeah, I'm very adamant about that when I talk to my clients and say, please don't do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing that this is where your role as a coach often comes in, when people are saying, my story, nobody would care. Back to that what we were saying at the very start, the self-love question. So not only, is it, people just, they don't think anybody really would care about their story. And so you have to work with them to show them people do care.
Yeah. And, a big thing of working with my clients is for them to actually own their story. I've had this client in this book now of I'm So Glad You Left Me, and she signed up months ago, and her story is just not forthcoming. And then I ask her, how are you doing with the story, with your chapter? Then she jumps around this, and she's going to write about this, and she's going to write about this. But she did send in one chapter, and I wrote back to her and I said, you know what? This is a story. I don't want philosophy. I don't want theory. I want your story. I want your experience. And so she jumped around again. And right at the end, the last day or 2 days before, she started to own a story. She said, okay, I will write about that. So I'm not going to say who or which story it is.
Right. We just have to read. You
just have to read, but it's beautiful.
Right. But what I'm kind of getting here from you is that in many ways, this is very therapeutic to, and I wonder how many times people don't even really think about what they've gone through and all of those things until they start really putting it out there.
Oh, that is so true. That is so true. It is the most transformational experience that you go through when you write your story. It is incredible. I've had people cry that I had to coach them in a session because they were absolutely, as they thinking back about what happened, and then afterwards they smile because they have a new perspective.
Right.
About now that they are a number of years older than what happened, they have different, they see it differently. They see themselves different. It's really a very sacred experience, in my opinion. One coach said that that she has saved probably thousands of dollars in therapy just by writing a story.
Right. Yeah, because that's part of it is you just need to get it out.
Yeah, you just need to get it out. And it's really it is a wonderful transformation to do that. Yeah,
I love it. And it really is. I think so many times people will say, "Oh, you should write your story. Oh, you should do this," and I think then the next thing that pops into their mind is, it sounds really hard, or it's too hard. Like you said, I'm not a writer. I don't know how to do that. So what do you tell those people who just say, Dina, yeah, I know I've got a great story, but I don't have time. It sounds really hard. I mean, all of those ways where they're talking themselves out of it.
Well, the wonderful thing is that we have multi-author books.
Yes. So you're not writing 500 pages.
Yes. And that really helps people just to sort of go through the experience of writing and receiving feedback and having your story edited. And, that whole process of feeling what it feels like. And that you write as a chapter, like the 88 books is something about 800 words. And the 25 author books are from 2,500.
Right. And that's not a lot. Words. That's really not a lot of words.
It's not a lot. And it actually helps them so much to get over that barrier of, oh no, this is too hard. Because then, they start cultivating that habit of writing. And many authors, after they've done a multi-author book, that they feel ready to now write their solo book.
Okay. I was going to ask that if a lot of people do, the maybe they do more than one multi-author book, but then they're like, okay, people liked it. I got good feedback, so I can do a full book myself.
Yeah. And you know what? Your full book also doesn't have to be like, as you say, 500 pages.
Right. I've got one sitting here on my desk that from someone that I interviewed, and it's 130 pages. I mean, so this
gorgeous.
Is right.
Yeah. If you look like books, at books like 4 Agreements by Daniel Ruiz, I think that's his name. Miguel Ruiz, sorry, forgive me. It's a small book. It's even less than A5, and it has about 100 pages, but it's so powerful. So you don't have to add the fluff to think how thick your book must be. Rather, less is more.
Right. And again, that's where the good editor comes in.
Enough. Yes, absolutely. And I have a whole team up there. So yeah, there is actually only good things that can come about for an entrepreneur to step out and write their book or participate in a multi-author book, just to sort of, it's such a thrill. It's such a thrill to become a best-selling author. I love it, going through the launch, coming now on Friday, and all those women. And
I bet everybody's so excited.
And we watch the stats on Amazon, and we see how the book climbs, and suddenly it's there. It's a new release, it's bestseller, and it's beautiful. It's a thrill of a lifetime. And many people do it many times to participate in multi-author books. They for a number of times before they consider writing their solo book.
Right. Or they may never, they might just be very happy with doing their one chapter.
And there's nothing wrong with it.
Right. Yeah, especially depending on what their subject matter is. They may, they just have this one little snip. They don't want to do the full big book.
Yeah, that's possible too. So, but you know, as we say that we are multiple, complex, beautiful beings. We have different stories. And I think that's the other thing, is that people underestimate that their life is a story. Every day there are stories. Because, you know, especially for people who also, you know, write digital on social media or so, and they wonder, what can they write about? What can they write about? Write about anything. Write about your lunch break. Write about seeing the cat this morning.
Right.
And then, you know, weave that into a lesson or a something that you offer or not. But, you know, everything, we have stories everywhere.
Right. Yeah. I mean, look on social media, you know, LinkedIn, Facebook, those are the only ones that I use. And, you know, frequently I will look at someone's post and think, wow, just with a little bit more, it would be a good chapter in a book. You know, because some people get pretty verbose on those platforms. You know, and or like you said, blog posts, you know, things like that. We've already got that format in us. It's just a matter of making it work with, you know, like you said, the multi-author, because they do have to kind of link together. I mean, you know, you can't have just 88 different stories, but you know, it's you know, but yeah, we already do it. Sometimes it's just, we just need to do a little bit more.
Yes, absolutely. And that's where we have the guidance. You know, I take it very personally or seriously rather. Every single one of my author clients are very, very important to me.
Right.
So I read every story that they send a draft to me, their first draft, and I read it and I give them feedback from a reader's perspective. So I will say, you know, I missed that, or that doesn't make sense, or ask them questions about it, and even say, you know, this story isn't right for this book. So write something else.
Right.
And people appreciate that because they feel heard. They feel that, you know, it's not just a question of they can write anything and it's published. Because I really want them to be very satisfied with their story.
Right.
And
yeah, it's their story.
And when they're happy and I'm happy, then we send it to the editor.
Right. I love it.
And the editor will polish it. And then, of course, it's going back to the author.
Right. Because sometimes it got edited and it changed it. You're like, no. It was really important that it was a blue cat, you know,
exactly.
Whatever, you know, and the editor went, no, blue cats don't exist. You know?
You're so right. So they have the right to accept or reject the changes, and then the chapter goes for formatting to be formatted, and when everything is ready and all the pages are covered, then we have a launch plan and we launch the book.
Right. You know, and I love that the service you provide does all of it. You know, but let's talk about the very first part that people see, the cover. You know, how many times do we, and I'll tell you, I am one of those people that buys books by their covers. If it looks interesting and catches my attention, I'm at least going to pick it up. You know, and I see so many books because I get a lot of books. I mean, you know, probably over half of my guests are authors. And so I'm sent a lot of books. And so many times I look at it and think, oh, this cover is not going to do well with this. You know, so why is it so important that we really think a lot about that? Because I think so many other people are like, yeah, it's the cover. The words are what's important.
People buy the book first with their eyes. You're right. And that's why, you know, as a publisher, and, you know, even offer publishing services to people, even if they've written their book, to have their book edited or formatted or the cover or what it is that they need. uh, when someone scrolls through Amazon, for example,
Mhm.
they see thumbnails
Mhm.
of the cover.
Right.
If they can't read what's on the thumbnail,
Mhm.
and if they can't appreciate the cover, that
Mhm.
it's creative, the colors, that it looks
Mhm.
inviting, they'll just scroll over it.
Right.
There are just too many good books.
Mhm. Right. Next.
Next, absolutely.
Mhm.
So a high quality book,
Mhm.
you know, if you go through all that trouble to write, you
Right.
want to make sure that your content
Mhm.
is edited
Mhm.
professionally.
Mhm.
You want to make sure that you have a professionally designed
Mhm.
cover,
Right.
not
Yeah. And
something that you whip up
right.
yourself on
Yeah.
Canva.
And let's go back to AI. This is not, now you might ask it
No.
for suggestions, but no, it still needs a professional designer working on it.
Yeah, yeah. And I have the most wonderful designer. She's
Mhm.
awesome. She's actually, unfortunately, at the moment, she was in the path of the hurricane,
Oh no, so she's here.
Helena. Yeah. So she let me know, because she's working on some covers for me.
Mhm.
She let me know that that, you know, as you know, that
Mhm.
there are power outages
Mhm.
there.
Right.
And no internet, or very little.
Mhm.
So yeah, it is a problem. I just hope that I'm just very happy that she's well, you know,
Yeah,
that
yeah,
she's
just to
okay.
hear from her, I'm sure
Yes,
was amazing.
yeah.
And that's going to be one of those things where stories are going to come out. One of the ones that I was reading, and I didn't read very much of it, but it was, man walks 17 miles to get to his daughter's wedding. Now that's a story, right? And I mean, that was just incredible to think he went, and it was one of those where he was not going to not be there.
Of course.
And so, and who knows what all happened along the way, but that'll be something that, and even just, we like stories where people overcome adversity. I mean, that's just
Oh
kind of one
yeah.
of the things, and if we don't, then it's a mystery, and we'll read about that somewhere else. But yeah, the books that people really like, they want to know, because I think that puts us back into that position. It's like, okay, if they did it, I could do it too.
Absolutely. Uh, as a publisher of multi-author books,
Mhm.
it's always the hero's journey,
Mhm.
going through that
Mhm.
adversity, hitting that low point,
Mhm.
and then decide, you know, this has to change.
Mhm.
And of course, then searching for the solutions,
Mhm.
finding it, and how their lives change.
Mhm.
And in this book of I'm So Glad You Left Me,
Mhm.
we have so many stories on life after divorce,
Mhm. I was
life
guessing that was
after,
what the primary topic
yeah.
was. Mhm.
But it's not just about that. It's also about grief,
Mhm.
you know, losing people.
Mhm.
Um, and it's also about, you know, any personal transformation,
Mhm.
like addiction.
Mhm.
There are a number of sources of
Right.
addiction,
Mhm.
and health, overcoming
Mhm.
health issues.
Mhm.
So, but every story has that sort of the
Mhm.
backstory of, you know, to
Mhm.
set it up.
Mhm.
This is the problem,
Right. Mhm.
and then how they got through it,
Mhm.
and how their lives changed.
Mhm.
And and I think it will be so inspiring,
Mhm.
Deb, for so many people who
Mhm.
find themselves in similar
Mhm. Right.
circumstances, that they think, oh my gosh, you know,
Mhm.
I don't see how I
Mhm.
can get out of here.
Mhm.
And someone shows you there is a way.
Mhm.
There are infinite possibilities. It's
Right.
beautiful.
Right. Do you ever read some of them and go, "Oh, that's just too far-fetched," you know, and they're not believable?
No, I do go and say, oh, shame, I can't believe this person
Mhm.
went through this. It's
Mhm.
absolutely terrible. I cry with them. No, I haven't read anything that was sort of, you could think, oh, maybe this didn't happen. No.
Right. Well, and that's,
Yeah.
one of the things that I think sometimes people think is my story is unbelievable. Nobody would believe that this really did happen to me. Like the guy who walked 17 miles to his daughter's wedding, right? He's going to think, now nobody would believe that I actually did that. So then he's going to say I walked 7 miles. Right. So they're going to tone it back. But the important thing is, no, you need to get the real story.
Yes, you need to get the real story. Absolutely. And yes, there are things that can seem wow. Like in my new book, 88 Stories of Miracles Are Normal, that I'm enrolling new authors for now. Yes, I totally expect them to read stories to think, oh my word, could this have happened? And we know in the world of miracles and divine interventions and magical manifestations, that it's surreal. The paranormal happens. So that's wonderful. I'm so looking forward to all those stories.
Ooh, I bet. That's, yeah. I mean, I would imagine your job is so interesting to just keep reading all of these wonderful stories from people over and over again. And like you said, kind of pulling it out of them. But then when you get the story, just, it's incredible.
Yeah. Some of them write so beautifully. Some of the authors that I just get goosebumps. I love beautiful literature. It is when somebody can play with words. And when I read fiction, I read a paragraph twice or three times because it's just so beautifully written. Some people do have that kind of talent, and it's really beautiful to experience.
Right.
But yeah, I do enjoy reading all and getting to know people, because you're getting to know their heart of who they really are, and what they've gone through. So yeah, I think this is the best job ever.
I love it. Well, one of the things that we mentioned was that influencers can do something like this. So, yeah, there are the influencers who have 5 million people who follow them on TikTok, or maybe they're an influencer that have 100 who follow them. So why is it, why would this be something that an influencer would want to do?
Because an influencer that has a community, and often they haven't quite monetized their community.
Okay.
And that's often the case with podcast hosts, that they do episodes after episodes after episodes, speaking to the most wonderful people, but they themselves haven't really monetized their podcasts. They haven't made money from it. So this is a great way to do that. You decide as the influencer, you decide what is the theme of your book, and the title, the subtitle, what it's about, and then you sell the chapters. You have the community, reach out to people and say, listen, I've got this beautiful project, and I was thinking that I would really love you to share your story. And how it works with me is we have a page on my site, a sales page for the book, and everything runs through me, so it's very easy for you. You sell the chapters, they pay on my site, and I pay the author, the main author, 50% of the commission.
Okay.
They take 50% for every sale, and together we decide, what is the options. So this type of about 20 author type of book, we have an option of. So let me use this as an example. For for my new 25 author book that's called Divine Rebirth. And that's a book about spiritual awakening, surrender, and rise from the ashes. For that book, I have 3 options. So I have one for $1,500, where you start with 2,500 words. It goes up to $2,200, where you have 3,500 words and PDF of your chapter, and then up to $2,800, where you also have your name on the front cover. And of course, for that VIP, there's only 9 spots for someone to do that. So decide on what are the options. We create the page, and you sell the chapters. You send them to the sales page. You could obviously first talk to them to make sure that you want their story in your book. And they buy into the book. And from there onwards, you receive 50% commission, and Soul Purpose Publishing produces the book for you. So we do the workshops with the authors to write their story. We do the editing. We do everything on the background. And in the end, we launch the book together. I run the launch for you and everybody becomes international best-selling authors.
I love it. Yeah, when you're talking about this, I'm just sitting here realizing I screwed up, because we had 1,000 episodes. We celebrated that several weeks ago. That would have been a perfect opportunity, right? To have, somehow. Now, we obviously couldn't have 1,000 people, and so maybe, the top 10 or something like that. So I'm thinking maybe for 1,500, if I start thinking about it now, and just writing down, ooh, this person has a great story, or, all of those things, because I think that would be fun to do, to give people the opportunity. The Business Power Hour, I don't know, we'd have to come up with something much, much, much more fun than that. But like you said, you come up with the theme. And so maybe it's perseverance. It's, starting from scratch, whatever it is. And going from there, I think that would just be so much fun.
Absolutely. It can be anything business related, because I know most of your people are business entrepreneurs. So can be anything about my first 10K month, or my journey to become 6 figures, something that would help on other entrepreneurs.
Right.
And everyone can share their expertise. And of course, to be in the story in a book that is by the famous Deb Creer would be awesome.
I love it. Very fun. And every guest that I have on, they all have obviously very unique personal stories about why they got started doing what it was they were doing. I have, I've had several who they've said, oh yeah, I've been an entrepreneur all my life. And you think, yeah. And they say, no, 6. I was 6 years old when I started doing this. I had one guest on, and she said, there was, she was a teenager, and she made the dance team at her school. But she was one of 5 kids, and they were very poor family. And she said this was great. She made this dance team and then realized she could not afford the outfits that they needed. And so without asking, she had a garage sale and sold a lot of stuff from, and then mom, of course, said, you go get that back. But, I mean, right. I mean, that was just such a funny story. But she said, that really showed her, and it showed her mom too, what she could do if she put her mind to it. And her mom said, if it was yours and you sold it, okay, it can stay gone. Yeah. But she said, I need my microwave back, and things like that. But
what initiative?
And so all of my guests, have these fun, unique stories. And a lot of them really have overcome a lot. I've had several guests on who were abused as children. I had one guest who is African American. And he said, his parents told him when he was about 4 years old, you want to go to college, you're going to go on a football scholarship. And he said, he started playing football at 4, in the little peewee leagues, and he did. He went to school on a full scholarship. But, all of these things make us who we are. And, I want to go back to what we were talking about at the very start. That's what makes us unique. And that's, but everybody reads that and goes, oh yeah, I either went through something similar or I know somebody that did or something like that.
That's very powerful. And we love stories. We love stories.
Yeah. And when we know that they're true, I think that really does make a difference. When you're reading fiction, that's one thing. But when you're reading somebody's true story, it really is just incredibly powerful in many cases.
It's very powerful. It's really incredible.
So what is the process if someone says, hey, Dina, I want to do this? Clearly they reach out to you and contact you, but a big part of it is their mindset. It's not just, hey, I want to do it. I've got this story in me. How do you kind of get through the mindset of getting them from initially putting pen to paper, fingers to keyboard, however they're going to do it, to actually having a great product?
Well, as a coach, I help them with their vision.
Okay.
Because when we have a vision and we know why we're doing something, and that's important because especially if you write your solo book, it's a marathon. A multi-author book, a chapter is a sprint.
Right. A lot of people can probably sit down and do that in a couple of hours.
Yeah. But to write a book, I love this woman, a mentor of mine, that said it's about as glamorous as childbirth. As so it's a marathon, and that's what I love about my previous training and what I still do, my coaching, is to really motivate them by them tapping into their vision and also seeing what is sabotaging them. Why are they having...
Right. What is that little voice on their shoulder, that little person? What are they saying to them?
Yeah. And we sort that out because what's very important is to hold that vision and to hold that identity of you as a best-selling author, is to really become her or him even before the book is written. You're already stepping into that identity of of saying, I'm a writer, I'm an author, I'm going to say that.
Right.
Then for that to be true is you need to write.
Right. Yeah, you can't just say you are, you have to actually do it.
Yes. So vision is very important. Know your why, know that your intentions, and have your routine that you write. So for my authors, my solo authors, is we have weekly writing sessions.
Okay.
That they come and they sit and I hold the space for them. And they write for up to 90 minutes. And of course, that also helps them to cultivate the habit of writing at that day, at that time, even if it's just for 20 minutes. When you start doing that, every time you sit down, you start writing. And, it's to also hold the vision of what this book is going to mean for you, for your business, for your clients,
right?
For yourself.
What are you doing it for?
Why are you doing this? Yes, what are you doing it for? And it's to hold those in the front of your mind that keeps on motivating you to write. And of course, having a brilliant outline. And I help my clients with that.
Right. You don't just start writing. You need to have that plan.
Especially nonfiction. I appreciate that a brilliant fiction writer can just, see how it develops. But if you write a nonfiction book, you have an outline for it.
Right.
And when you have that, it makes it 10 times easier to consistently write, because you know what you're writing about.
Right. Yeah. This chapter I'm writing about the early years,
Yes.
my education, my business that failed, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, mindset is absolutely, as they say, 90% of what you create in life is mindset. The other 10% is strategy and action. You've got to hold yourself together and be that person. The energy of that book, be that energy. It's very important.
Right. So, with a solo book, kind of typically, how long does that take? I mean, I know there are some people who just can get through it pretty quickly, and others that it is a struggle, but kind of what's the average length of time?
Well, of course, it depends on how long is your book.
Oh, that's true. If it's 130 pages, that's very different than if it's, say, 400 pages.
Exactly. But I have a program. My program is up to 6 months
Okay.
to write. You should get quite a sizable book done in 6 months if you write regularly. And then we have 3 months for the publishing part, the editing process that will go through a few rounds. And then in that time, you are creating the back end of what you want to produce, for the book, whether it's a program, a course, what it is. I help you with that too, because that's my background as well. And then we have a launch date, and then we have a bestseller.
I love it. I love it. Well, oh my gosh, Dina, this is just absolutely fascinating, because like you said, there are several different ways to do this. There's the multi-author, and then there's the solo, there's the influencers, all of those things. But for the people who went, okay, this sounds good, how do they find you, and go into a little bit more detail about the services that you provide?
Okay, so the best way to find me is my website, dinamarais.com. And on there, you will see on the menu, work with me, and you will see all my services. So I always have multi-author books that I'm filling. So if you want to try, and wet your feet, dip your toe in here, and you want to write a chapter, I've got 2 multi-author books at the moment. And then if you want to write your solo author book, you will see the details there. So all the details are there on that site about how it works, what are the process, and also there are the ways to book a call with me. It's a non-obligation free call with me. We chat and we see what it is that you want to do and what will be the best fit for you. And I also offer publishing services. So if you have written your book and you want it edited, or maybe it's already edited, but you want it formatted, and you don't want to go to Fiverr, we have a very dedicated team to give you very personal service. To format your book, to create a cover for you, to have it edited, to do the research for you on Amazon on what is the best categories for your book or the best keywords. Any of those services we provide.
I love it. And I want to go back to, folks, I don't care how well you think you write, you need an editor. I read sometimes 2 or 3 books a week, and I can tell when they had an editor and when they didn't. And it's funny because the ones that had an editor, and these are nonfiction books, right? I'm reading business books, but when they had an editor, the story gets me sucked in and I read more about it. If they didn't have an editor, I can skim through it really pretty fast because they just wrote kind of off the top of their head. But yeah, having the editor is what really, really makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. You've got to have someone with fresh eyes to look at it, also, because when you write a nonfiction book, the editor, for the developmental editing, they look at the whole structure of the book. They look at the style. They look at the storyline. All of that must make sense in the end, for your reader. Your reader wants to be able to form a storyline through your book.
Right, right. And it is one of those things where, like we said, it's cathartic, you're getting it out of you, but the editor is just making it better. I remember years ago when I was in an English class at college, we got back our papers and everybody's paper was covered in red ink. Red ink's not good, right? And we all went, nah. And the professor said, they're words, they're not your babies. And I liked that concept because it was, okay, this is important to us, but it's okay for somebody to be critical of it.
Yeah. It's to lose that attachment to it. I think it was Ernest Hemingway said, sometimes you write something and then you think, wow, this is good. Scratch it out and start again.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Because what you think is really good and juicy might not be right. So, yeah.
I love it.
We have to let go. And as you say, as your professor said, it's not your babies. It's just your words.
Right. Well, oh my gosh, Dina, this has been absolutely fascinating. And we will link to your website in the show notes. And I'd love to have you on again because I think this is so much fun. But until then, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave everyone with?
I believe truly, and I think that's why I really love this work so much, is that we all have greatness in us. And it is my mission to share that with the world, to share your story, to share your greatness with the world. And I think it's our spiritual duty to actually do that. So, yeah, we all have greatness and we all are here to walk each other home to our greatness.
I love it. So much fun. And this has been such a wonderful discussion. I'm Deb Greer. I've been speaking with Dina Marais. And until next time, everyone have a great day.
Tune in for our next program for even more trends, best practices, and techniques for how to make your business a success. The Business Power Hour, hosted by Deb Greer, is proud to be part of the C-Suite Network.